basic education, these should be accessible. And trying to marry the European standards with the Indian ecosystem is something which we are trying to do from a long time. We have achieved a lot of things in during the last, I'll say, the last 5 years post COVID. So yeah, it's been a good ride, but I think, yeah, it's India has a different flavor. I always say that whatever business or whatever processes you have in Europe or you have in the Western countries, all comes to a stop when you reach the Indian airport. Here we are doing a long term athletic development where from 3 years we are actually making the students play. And and I think our techno schools are one of the very few schools in India which has around 2 or 3 times physical education classes in a week.
That is definitely a first I'm hearing.
Yes, so normally
Yeah.
you have, say, one class 45 minutes
For
in a
PT,
week
yeah,
for
yeah.
PT, but we have three of them where we have structured. We cracked a partnership with La Liga.
Okay.
Now La Liga is it's like the ISL of Spain.
Spain.
And all the clubs like Madrid, Barcelona,
Right.
everyone is
Yeah.
playing there. And we cracked it with La Liga Business School. So they have a MBA in
Nice.
sports, and where we as SNU we are giving the degree, but La Liga
Okay.
is giving the expertise.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Student Voice Matters. This is your host Sonalika Goswami. Today we have with us someone whose work or the kind of work he does needs no introduction. He's the director of Techno India Group, Debdut Roy Chowdhury. But I know him beyond this person, beyond this director of Techno India. I know him since my college days. And it's there that I had first seen him organize and execute an event like Zavotsav like a pro. And that would even be a less or an understatement to say. So, Devdutta, thank you so much for coming to our podcast today. I know that you have achieved much greater things in life since, but how has it been for you so far?
So first of all, I'll say thank you for getting me on this podcast. It's nice to see you also, get involved in these kind of things and also achieve great in life. And yes, I think college was very different. We had a different, life back then and a different set of fun. But now also it's a different kind of fun where we get to do a lot of work, we get to do a lot of impact. So that is good. But also, if when you mention Zavotsav, I think that is also an impact we created where we gave fun to 10,000 odd students. So that was also something it was nice. And specifically studying in a college like ours
Oh, right.
with the amount of rules and everything,
Executing an event as big as that.
as big as it. And I think 3 days of independence
Oh,
is
yeah.
something which all the students look forward to. So, yeah.
Definitely, yes. So, since then, how has your journey been, especially when you have got, I know that you have been out, when you've been abroad for your master's. So, when you have come back, what was the first thing when you joined this company, this legacy in a way? What were your focus like? What were the goals?
So the goals, I'll say, when I came back, it was like, okay, I'll change and make everything better in one day. And then it took me 1 year to understand that that is not how things happen. And you have to be very focused and very, like, you have to actually work through it.
Also, education has its own pace of growing.
Pace of growing. And education in other sense, it's something we have to be very careful, because as I say, we are not dealing with products,
Correct.
we are dealing with
Humans.
humans, and that too, humans who are very who you are very young
Delicate.
and delicate. So it is something which we have to be very careful about. And even one decision we take impacts millions of students or lakhs of students who are studying with us and everything. So that is something which here, being slow and having a plan is more important, and actually seeing the impact we create is more important than the top line and the bottom line and those kind of things. So it is a bit different. Even work culture wise, it's a lot different, because
Correct.
here we say it's not employees, because here our workforce is around 5,000 teachers, teachers, professors, principals. So they are hardcore academicians. They
Correct.
have achieved a lot in their fields,
Huge.
and they have now come on board to share that knowledge. So even dealing with them, how do you speak with them, how do you actually understand them, and then also try to push your
That is not, that is so much beyond business. That is
yes.
human to human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I'll say it's not like, when you are in Europe or you are in America, you
No.
you have a standard of life. You see everything is very, like, okay, it's there are rules and they have everything sorted out. It feels like that. Here, when you are going somewhere, in the remote places, like say somewhere like Falagata in the North Bengal,
Right.
or like Malda in South Bengal. So those places, they don't have much. So what you can do there, what are the kind of access you can give
Give
them.
them.
We still try to have our like our fees as nominal as possible, because those are the things that basic education, these should be accessible. And trying to marry the European standards with the Indian ecosystem is something which we are trying to do from a long time. We have achieved a lot of things in during the last, I'll say, the last 5 years post COVID. So yeah, it's been a good ride, but I think, yeah, it's India has a different flavor. I always say that whatever business or whatever processes you have in Europe or you have in the Western countries, all comes to a stop when you reach the Indian airports, because
It has its own way of
has
functioning.
its own way of functioning. You will never see a, a country where people want, I'll say, accessible products, but they also want products which will last them a lifetime. So it's a thing like that. And we are trying to kind of do what my father has also been doing, that making things accessible as much as possible. Now there are times when we have to take those calls, when we have courses which are, say, not at par with the paying capacity of the general public. So then we try to do some more, or give some more access or international access, where that gets justified, or going to Europe or America is something like a dream for, I'll say, 90% of our youth. But to get something from Europe or America to India is achievable.
Right.
So
I mean, there are a lot of disciplines that you can bring in. There is a lot of time management, which is a
yes,
big factor that you can
yes,
definitely comply here. So there's
yes,
a lot of learning that you can bring in here, but you have to handle it in its
yeah,
own way.
yeah. In the
In
Indian
an
way, I'll
Indian
say,
way,
yeah.
correct. You mentioned your father in this, Mr. Satyam Roy Chowdhury. So, what was the biggest learning or your biggest takeaway seeing him? Because you talked about his work, you talked about what he tries to do every day in his life. So, you have watched him contribute so much to the education system of our country. So, what was your biggest takeaway from that?
I'll say, just having a heart when the money flows in. So that is something I think which uh, should be there. Also, the constant fear that if I fail, then 10,000 people with me fails. So that is, I think, is something which I think takes away a lot of his sleeping time. But it's
How does he handle that, and how do you handle that right now?
I think
That
it's
fear, along with, because you need to be calm. You
yeah.
cannot let the 10,000 people know that you're scared. You always have to be the shield instead. So
Exactly, but
how
I
do you
think
work
as
on
long
that?
as they are happy, or they feel that their family is sorted and they are comfortable, that is the only thing. You can even give a person million of dollars, but they will not be comfortable or at peace. So what we can say is, out of the 10,000 people, I think 9,999 of them are at peace, and they feel supported, that it's we have someone to fall back on. So that is something I think which we don't see only as a headache, or a sleepless night inducers, but I'll say those things are more which boosts us that we cannot take a wrong step,
And
or
it's like a responsibility as well.
exactly. And those are I'll say those are the internal checks for us.
It's just like a family. People
Yeah.
don't take family as a baggage. They just look at it as responsibility.
Yes,
So it's like
yes.
that.
So it comes over as that, and because I'll say, most of the people who are with us are here on an average, say 5 years, 10 years, many of them more than 30, 35 years. So, that is a different connection. So back then, there were no concept of startups in India, or, but
Right.
they were the founding members,
True.
kind of.
And
So,
and to take it to this level from there.
exactly. And so they also, but again, now, when the newer generation kicks in, it's always like, it feels like they are being left behind. But I think what we have a concept where we get the new generation to do active work, and we have a lot of advisors and, like, directors who are from our old, I'll say, brigade, who, kind of
Bring in
oversees
their
what,
experience
bring
as
in their
well.
experience, give them the advice, and, kind of keep the culture for the last 40 years, kind of imbibe it into them. So that is something which we like. There's a lot of, I'll say, fights as well, I'll put it in that way, because, when the new generation, the new ideas and the old ideas, they clash, and a lot of things, because you see, for us, it's like, we can be anywhere in the world and we can work. For us, it's like we don't have to come to office, we don't, have to be here 5 days a week. So we think like this. But just go back to our older generation, for them, coming to
Time to
office.
time, yeah.
Exactly.
They would come, sit at their desk, work in
Exactly.
the system, and then once it was like that particular time, they'd leave and go home.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those kind of things. But again, that also brings in like, I'll say, it brings in a practice, or a I'll say, it brings a order in your life, where, okay, I have to be there every day, and, I'm going there to work, I'm coming.
That
So
is a form of discipline.
that is a form of discipline, which, is good to,
Maintain.
maintain. But also, the place that getting a work done throughout the night, early in the morning, then I think our expertise
It
comes into.
we can sleep
Yeah.
at 3 a.m. and then wake up at 5 a.m. again.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is our generation's expertise.
That's our expertise. I think,
Yeah.
taking those expertise and actually using them for something good is, I think, more important than just, because for me it is difficult to, come to office at 9, leave at 5, and have a
Be
life
in
that.
stuck hours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is very difficult, or I think a lot of people in my generation. But
I feel it's difficult.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but again, yeah. So I'll say these are not drawbacks. These are also, good
Yeah,
that
I
we
mean,
can.
there is still a lot of people in this generation who still love going to office, sitting, and it's a choice. It should more be like a place which is accessible to all, just like you mentioned some time back. Yeah.
So yeah, I think access starts everywhere. So if we don't start it in our core team and in our core offices, I don't think the vision will not trickle down to the
Correct.
actual places. And again, when we are dealing with humans, and that to children, it needs a certain level of discipline and,
Discipline.
like, focus, as I said.
Yeah, you have to teach, like, when dealing with students, you have to teach them this discipline that there's something that you have to do within a time frame. Like, you have to come to school in time. If it's 8, you need to be there at 8. You cannot be flexible there. So time discipline is something that everybody has to learn. Then how you imply it in life is up to you.
But now it will be very difficult if the principal is on hybrid mode.
Yeah,
So you
exactly.
understand. So, it's, and
Exactly.
always I think it's something which we follow is lead by example. So whatever
So
we
even the
want
principal
to do,
needs to be there at 8.
they need to be, I think, at 7:30.
Okay,
So,
yeah, even before,
yeah.
even before,
So I
correct.
think, these are things which I, again, like this team, or, the responsibility, I think I learned a lot, not in business school but in culinary school, because
That demands way
that
more.
demands way more, and, where you don't see which, so there is a work and this is a team, and the end goal is achieving that, say, making food.
Food,
So
getting the dish done and making
exactly.
it look good, taste good.
Yeah, so there, you don't count when you are doing that, this is my responsibility, this is your responsibility. So I think that, and the leading by example, okay, you don't know, I'll show it to you. So I think that is much needed in our times, or in India a lot, because that is the problem we face a lot, where like learning and relearning is a problem, where people, they don't want to learn more, or they don't want to
They
relearn.
think they know it all.
I'll not say know it all, but it's just like, okay, like this much is enough, or
Yeah, like
this.
they just think that, okay, maybe for this, I have got this knowledge, I can do that. I don't, like, people don't want to know things that don't serve their purpose.
Exactly, but I think everything serves the purpose, and
You never know
um,
which knowledge might come in use
yeah,
where.
and I think a lot of people who are now, I know a lot of friends who are like this, are like that. What benefit am I getting from this? And once they get into the relearning and learning mode, they actually like get the like this thing where they know that, okay, no, it is helping me, and it is also letting me kind of know a lot of things. So I think this is much needed when we go about it. But yeah.
So you have started something, you have contributed something of your own, which is the Hatchlab Innovation. And I was just talking to a colleague of yours before this, and he told me that you have also started Athletes International Sports. So tell us a little bit about these and how are you tying this up with the education system of Techno?
So Hatchlab is, I'll say, it's a very near and dear, a very small company of ours.
And when did you begin?
I think
Just
it
last
was
year?
I think it's 2023. Yes,
2023.
at
Okay.
the end of 23. So we
Okay.
just
So one and
finished
a half years,
one
sort
and a
of.
half years.
Okay.
So Hatchlab was created with three purposes. One was as a incubator, because if you see our colleges, our universities, we have a very good integration of innovation labs, where there are a lot of startups who are actually doing very good, or there are just students who don't care about a startup or something, but they have very good ideas. And we incubate a lot of them. We help them reach government fundings and a lot of things like that. So when Hatchlab came, it was positioned as a corporate identity for the students. And when we started Hatchlab, the first team we got were all graduates from our university, Sister Nivedita University. So it was like a for the student by the student kind of a thing, where and we told them that we are a startup, we'll act as a startup, and we'll do everything as a startup.
So what you did
Only
with them was you helped identify students who need government
Yes,
funding and all that. Okay.
fundings, and not only government fundings. There are a lot of things where a student might know how to build a product very nicely, but they don't know how
So
to
it was like a
say.
corporate training.
It
It's like
was
a
no, not a corporate
okay.
training, but I'll say more of a incubator and accelerator, where you
Okay.
can come in. We can do three things. One is we can give you funding, and that is something we believe that to start you need something, and we do that. But that is something everyone is doing. What is the next thing we do? We ask them that what is your problem. Maybe you don't need funding, maybe you have the money, but what we have faced after numerous meetings with startups and founders, that they need the guidance. Now with our legacy, with 40 years, we have a huge team of legal support, a huge team of corporate secretaries, a huge team of IT people. So they can directly access those. They can anytime call up my head of IT. They can anytime call up my CFO, get their advice on maybe how to file a balance sheet, or how to file their ITR, or how to get help with some tech things. So it was a place where you can come in, you can feel that, okay, this is my space, and I have help in 3 minutes. Anywhere I am, in 180 seconds I can be connected with a expert, and I can get the help. All this for a stake or something like this. So when this started, we saw a lot of potential, and then slowly we went into the VC segment, where now we are investing in a lot of Silicon Valley startups, a lot of startups, who are working not only in tech, but say in tech such as manufacturing, like say semiconductors or VLSI, or you can say in the mental space, like say tele rehab or neuro rehab. So things which has a social impact, which where we know that it will directly help people, and also helping these young minds to actually achieve something. Because, and I think after 1 year, someone from the Silicon Valley flew down to Kolkata, and they were like, do you know that Hatchlab is the only VC and incubator in Eastern India? I'm like, I did not know that, and I have also never verified it, but this is something which someone told. So doing these things where which is not here in Kolkata
But
is
also can benefit so many.
exactly. So that is something what Hatchlab has been doing for a long time. Then we started going into business development. We took over a hotel in Darjeeling. It was not in a very good shape, made it profitable in the next 3 months. So like changing the game for these
So
businesses.
tell me, how did you like all these ideas sound brilliant? How did you come up with it? Did you like have a story, a purpose, an inspiration? Because you are just as young, and is it something that has been there in your mind for a long time, or something that you have,
I'll
something
say
that has come
no.
up because of something?
I am a person who doesn't know how to make a business plan, or even after my business school, I don't know all that. I am very bad at Excel. I am very bad with numbers.
I can feel
Yeah.
you.
So it is something I think even now, if you say Hatchlab is growing every day. We don't have a company deck as of now, even after 1.5 years, because we say the company will evolve as we are evolving, and it is the case now because Hatchlab was created in a way that we'll never go into education, because it was mostly that Techno India is into education. So why have another company going into education? So we first, it was like, okay, we'll never go into education. We went into education because we got a very good partnership with Manchester City, and they wanted to come here and set up their school and everything. So so Hatchler was like, okay, we'll do this now. And now we are working with a lot of
But then you are impacting the students. You're like structuring the courses and all.
yeah.
Yeah.
So now
So now it has
it
sort of,
has it has
it
kind
has,
of
yeah, the line
just
has diluted. Yeah.
it has diluted. And even Athlete International, it was created, that I think it was created more for the students, because
Go into little bit details about
yeah.
what you do
So
there.
Athlete is not investment, nothing. It is only sports development and sports development. So everyone there, we have a small team which is going to play the Premier Division of Calcutta Football League. So those, and that is because we do something at a very grassroots level, where we have the Athlete Junior program. And the Athlete Junior program is something which we have been doing for the last, I think, 10 years. It was not named as Athlete Junior program. It was the Techno Kids program. Then we kind of got in more experts, made streamlined it,
So
made it better.
is it from are you tying up with all the Techno India group of schools?
All of them.
Great.
Now we are also forwarding proposals to the government, so that we can go in a model where we can also access the
Spread around other
exactly
schools.
other
Right.
schools, the government schools. Because here we are doing a long term athletic development, where from 3 years we are actually making the students play. And and I think our techno schools are one of the very few schools in India which has around 2 or 3 times physical education classes in a week.
That
Which,
is definitely a first time hearing.
yes, so normally
Yeah.
you have, say, one class, 45 minutes
For
in a
PT,
week
yeah, yeah.
for PT, but we have three of them where we have structured. So most of the students who are
What made you come across the realization that sports needs attention? Was it like from a personal feeling, or was it
yes,
something that you?
because like the problem we have is, see, sports. It's so the main thing is the counseling of the parents, correct? So what we tell the parents is, see, your child will become a doctor, engineer, or whatever
Something
you
of their,
wish,
yeah.
but the moment that child plays sports, they will become a better doctor or a better engineer. As simple
Why
as
so?
that.
Why do you think so?
Because there are, I think
This is a very
thousands.
beautiful thing that you have said.
Yeah,
So I just want you to emphasize a
because I
little
think
bit.
there are 1,000 research papers which proves that, if you are active from childhood, if you are into sports, your hand-eye coordination, your motor skills, your persevering power, everything increases.
Also, you get a place to release your stress.
Exactly. And
You come back with a fresh mind.
yeah, so this is something which we did not tell the parents, but we have around 45 children who are in our elite program, and we have around 10,000 children who are in the long term athletic program. So, so these 10,000 students, their parents now give us the feedback that, when they go back home or they come back home, they listen to us much more, they articulate much more, because the rush is gone.
Gone.
They
Yeah.
are already,
They have played and they have
they
already
have played.
exhausted their.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that helps a lot, because, and on top of that, we already have great talents. Say in from our Hooghly school, we have this girl who was I think she passed out 3 or 4 years back, and she represented India in the under 19 cricket team. So
Wonderful.
there's a lot of children who are there in shooting, archery. So they are anyway doing it. So
Right.
why not give them the access? Now, what we did is, we did the long-term athletic development. We got the UKC Academy, which is our club's academy.
Right.
We are getting a lot of
Yeah, I was seeing
experts.
mugs written United
Yeah.
Kolkata upstairs.
So
Yeah.
we are getting a lot of, specialized people, and not only specialized coaches, but things which have never been done. Say, the, what do you say, the, when they record the whole thing, like proper strength and conditioning coaches, proper video analysts who are actually, recording the children's play and then analyzing their movements, give, what they are good at. So
Right.
things which
So
normally.
you are like really putting research into people who are like capable, and
Yes,
so you're sort of helping them groom up in a way that they can, do better and get better
exactly. and
opportunities.
and if they can become great players and, represent
Make a
India,
mark
that
of for
that is
themselves,
that
absolutely.
is great. And say, what we do is, we have great coaches who teach them, but on top we have two scientists.
So as of now, is it only limited to students who are studying in one of the techno
Yes,
schools?
yes,
Okay.
because that is kind of our testing ground. There is where, and that is, I think, we feel that, we should
Comfortable, you're
create
comfortable.
the
It's in your zone,
impact.
yeah.
Exactly, it's in our zone. And say we have two sports scientists with us who have, I think, 50 years of experience, and they are great. They have been in Malaysia, they have been in Australia, so they know the game.
Right.
And
They have seen children from different
exactly, and they
geographic
are the
areas, yeah.
ones who are leading this whole thing. So getting the right people, doing the right things for the right people, I
Right.
think is something very important. And we are achieving it through athlete. And we are trying with our club also to kind of have a
Right.
club which is not Mohun Bagan East Bengal, but it is more for our generation,
Right.
where we can also relate. Because if you see the way that we market ourselves, and the way we do is very youth friendly. It's very youth centric. So and even when we do our collaborations, we try to do it with brands who are more youth centric, like,
Right.
say.
Because that is what your, people are. Like they are from
Yes.
the youth. They are basically in the demography of, say, nursery class
Yeah,
to
exactly. From
college.
say three
Yeah.
to
Basically,
three
the
to
entire 0 to
yeah,
18 group
yeah,
is 21 rather. 0 to 21 is
yeah.
with you. Yeah.
So yeah, that is how we do it. And I think Hatchlab is the one which is more corporate, which is more, where we try to do a lot of interesting things. And lot of is in the sense, we are trying to do a lot of partnerships with a lot of.
I would just like to ask a little bit about this Hatchlab innovation. That is, when you're structuring courses, this education department that you're handling with Hatch Labs. So, what kind of reforms are you trying to bring in here through education to impact the young mind?
So I'll say say if you take a normal sports management course, yeah, MBA in sports management. Now it is like very sad. Again, it is what it is, that you cannot get good professors or good lecturers, and that is given. Why you cannot get? Because the best of the best are not in India. Again, the best of the best are in the IITs, IIMs, IISc, and all the great institutions of our country.
And not every good student is an academician.
No.
They ultimately go to a corporate field, probably.
Exactly. And on top of that, if you want someone, they are based out of Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore. So getting great professors or talents in West Bengal is a task. So that is something, we have been fighting, and that is something you cannot change. It will happen. We will get good people, but it will take its time and it will happen in the due course. What we can do is we can get industry, and that is what we have been doing. So say we had a MBA in sports management in our university, SNU. That was under UGC and everything, and it was a course which was, say, fundamentals of MBA. You learn everything you have to learn about MBA, and then you have a 6 months, a term or two maybe, where you are learning, say, sports and basics of sports marketing and sports broadcasting and things like that. But it is not something which is equipping you for the Indian sports, arena, or for the global sports arena. You are just getting knowledge. Where did we come in? We cracked a partnership with La Liga.
Okay.
Now La Liga is it's like the ISL of Spain.
Spain.
And all the clubs like Madrid, Barcelona,
Right.
everyone is
Yeah.
playing there. And we cracked it with La Liga Business School. So they have a MBA in
Nice.
sports, and where we as SNU we are giving the degree, but La
Okay.
Liga is giving the expertise.
Oh,
So say
wonderful.
professors who are, say, or experts, say a big shot for Atletico Madrid, or
Right.
a high post holder in the
Right.
Barcelona management, they are flying over to
To
India,
India.
to
Okay.
Kolkata,
Okay.
and they are delivering the courses.
Wonderful. That sounds exciting and
Exactly. So
wonderful.
that
Yeah.
is the access we want to get. That it is, so making the world a little smaller.
Smaller, connecting dots from around the
Exactly.
world.
And when we sit, we with our international partners, what we feel is that India is a market where everyone wants to come. First of
Right,
all,
right.
so I
There are
think
so many people all eager to learn something or the
exactly.
other. Yeah.
So it always feels like we are not asking, but we are now in a position, or
Giving them
India,
a way to
exactly, to actually
come. Yeah.
tap into a bigger
Right,
market, or
right.
or do
Right.
these things. So I think this is a very huge dynamic shift, or a mindset shift for us Indians, where we are not the takers but the givers.
Givers. We are giving them the platform. We're giving
We
them
are
people.
giving them access to our people,
Correct.
and
So
to our resources.
it looks so we started by saying that you want to make it accessible for us, but it seems more like we are giving them the
Exactly,
access.
and it has to be mutually beneficial.
Right,
And
absolutely, yeah.
so when we do it, we are starting very
Even
small.
our people are benefiting in so many
Exactly,
ways.
but
Yeah.
I know that say 30, we are starting with 30 students. So I know that these 30 students, maybe they would have never had the
Absolutely.
chance to go to the La Liga Business
Yeah,
School.
the fact that they are getting it sitting here, because
Exactly.
in our country there are lots of people with financial constraints, and not everybody can choose to study abroad.
Exactly.
And but there are so many excellent faculties and so many different opportunities that wait for you abroad. So if brought here, that will be like a win-win situation.
And on top of that, if you see the fees, right? So say anything, I don't know about now, but I think any good college you want to go to study outside, you have to spend somewhere around 20, 25, 30 lakh rupees.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think 15, 20 lakh is a given for any college now.
Any colleges.
And that is only your tuition fees.
And then there's a different living
And
expense.
then there is a different living expense of at least 10, 15 lakh rupees for
More.
the entire
Minimum, yeah.
minimum.
Yeah.
So you are already spending 30, 35 lakh rupees. 50% of it is for your education. 50% of it is for something you don't even need.
Correct.
You don't need that apartment. You don't
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
stay in a European or an American
Yeah.
country.
You don't need to have in an international cuisine or
Exactly. So why not cut out those things, those extra costs,
but just bring the foreign education in.
bring the education, and you can do it at the comfort of your home city or home country.
Because those who can afford, maybe it's great for them that
Yeah.
experience, but there are so many people who just dream of studying
Exactly.
abroad.
And also like making it accessible in a way that everyone gets a piece of it.
Correct.
So say La Liga, we have created it in a way where you can study 2 years here and save a ton of money. If you want a little bit of exposure, you can study the whole 2 years here, and the last 1 week you can fly down to
That is
Madrid,
again,
and
you get to see the world
you
as
get
well.
to see the world, you get to immerse yourself in
Correct.
that experience, and again you have a place where you can study 1 year here and say the other or 1.5 years here, or the last 6 months over there, or say one semester over there. So so you have the access, or you have the choice, which we don't have. So what I always feel is, even when I was studying here, bachelor's and everything, we had no choice. It was said, this is what you have and this is what you should do. But I think we deserve that choice.
You deserve a flexible system of
Exactly.
education. Correct.
And I think if 25-year-old Dutch person or a German person can choose between subjects like sports management and automobile design and things like that.
So should people
Exactly.
here.
And also sitting in a remote village in Germany, which maybe now also doesn't have electricity.
They are able to choose. Yeah.
To choose and actually dream about it.
Correct.
Here,
Where people are not even aware.
No, here if you go to a place like say Bolpur, a school student, say a student who is studying in class 5 or 6, if you ask that child, where do you want to study, they will say somewhere in Kolkata. They have not got the access to think beyond Kolkata or beyond West Bengal. So I think that access is needed now.
So, one more thing that I'd like to bring up in this podcast is, a few days back, my director and I, we were having a conversation about this university, Sister Nivedita University. We were talking about the mark that it made, and in such a small time. Like, I'm 2018-19, if I go back, I remember that one of my friends came and told me that they had gotten admission into SNU, and I was like, which university is this? And like, it's a new university with Techno, and I was like, okay. But now, everybody knows SNU. Everybody knows, everybody wants to study there. How did it happen? And what is the kind of exposure that you're giving students that is attracting them so much?
I will say it's not a marketing genius. We are not very heavy into marketing or anything. This is just giving quality. As I said, Indian consumers, they know. They know all the lies and all the deceits which everyone does, and they know how to choose. And like when we say 2019-18, we had students, maybe 100 students. Now we have 10,000-12,000 students going
That
on to
jump.
that jump in 5 or 6 years. Next 2 or 3 years, we are targeting around 25,000 students. So 25,000 people, they chose
SNU,
the university. That speaks a lot. And giving the best, that is what we feel. The best labs, the best professors, in the sense that they are human. They
This is
have
a very,
heart.
very big thing that you said.
Yes. So they have a heart. If a student is having a problem, and this is something I have also heard from a lot of friends who are studying there, that maybe like the facilities are good, the labs are good, the studios are good, everything is good, but the professors are the best. They listen to us, and they guide us, and not only in the educational aspect, also in their life. And they genuinely connect with their professors, and it becomes like every classroom becomes a small family.
Talking about it, the 12,000 students that chose SNU as their ultimate stream of ultimate place of education. What is that one thing you think that the students look for when they're looking for colleges or universities, and how were you able to serve them that? How did you identify it first?
I think the students are not looking for, like grand modern architecture or, like fully AC, this, that. They just want a place where they can be themselves outside home. So that is the place they are looking for, where you can come and you can actually, like in a very positive environment, in an environment which is very safe, which is, like very supportive, and you can, do a lot of things. So when we go to SNU, we see a lot of, students who are, maybe some of them are dancing, and also the space matters, where if you go to the campus, you will feel that there is a peace around it. Like Newtown is anyway a good place to be.
Right.
It's very nice, and everything, but also like
All the modern cafes and everything is
exactly,
coming
the cafes
up.
and everything
Yeah.
are coming up, and and like inside our campus, we have a cafe which is like, I think it's a Melbourne cafe or something. So it's like, the students have
feels,
that feel,
yeah,
it feels
yeah.
nice, and it's like, okay, there's something happening.
Right.
And even say 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, you go, you will find students who are, just
Hanging
chilling,
out.
hanging out.
Yeah.
So that is nice, and there is a decorum which I feel
They look for home outside of home.
yeah, and I think they respect it as a home.
Right.
So that is there. I feel we have had very less incident, where there has been problems with the student, or the students are not happy. Obviously, it will be there, and I think if we don't have someone to complain and someone to point out the wrongs, then we are doing a much bigger wrong. So so that is there, but the percentage of complaints and students not feeling that they are not getting what they should be getting is very less. So that is something we look forward to, and just giving them the ease, because when they come, it's like they want to enjoy, and they want to study a little, enjoy a lot more,
Right.
and get a nice job at the end of the day.
Right.
So if these things are taken care of, I don't think there's much of a problem.
Thank you so much for, your ideas have impressed me so much. So
Thank
I wish you all the best, and I hope that techno continues to be the legacy in education that it is.
Thank you so
Thank you so much.